This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. Hello, my name is Harriton Watko. Welcome to our program. Ladies and gentlemen, an article came out today by one of our hosts, former Kit Tatad in the Manila Times. Is this country, or are we Filipinos, Catholic enough? The answer to his column, if you do read it, is obviously we are not. Evidenced by one, a president that has gone against the church. Our Constitution, whether you believe it or not, is based on the Catholic teachings. And as far as you and I have grown up, this is what we only know. And yet we have subversion, we've got a lot of conflict issues in this country with a very with a minority called the Muslims. 5-6% versus the 94% Catholic and some Christians. I don't understand all this hubris coming out of Malacanang. Nevertheless, these are political points of views, my personal biases, and I guess as well as Kit Tatad, who himself is a very devout Christian. Catholic, I'm sorry. There's a big difference nowadays. Ladies and gentlemen, in this show, like I've done in the last 6-7 years, I always truly enjoy introducing new shows that come on into GNN. Now, the relevance of all the different shows that come on is not necessarily to be against or in opposition towards the administrations that sit, but at the very least, a voice that speaks for the majority, if not what we call the silent majority, not minority, majority, at least gives another point of view. With these points of views, you and I become more critical and we make better decisions. We begin to understand issues the way they should be understood, seeing both sides of the pendulum. We have a new show that we want to promote here in GNN. The name of the show is Medical Dilemma. It will be airing the first week of April. And it's not just a typical talk show, again, that you and I are familiar with, like very much mine, but basically a show that will go into the issues of what morality, legal, of course, to identify what is legal, what is moral, what is spiritual. Not only people who sit and talk, but people with the expertise behind these issues that will tackle the very issues that we call current in our society. But before I try to explain that, let me introduce to you the hosts of the upcoming show. We've got Dr. Attorney Teresita S. Sanchez, who's a medical legal consultant. We have Father Jerry Manlangit, OP. He is a bioethicist. Naiiba po yan dating yan eh. And we have attorney, of course, Sarah Jane Sugitan of the Sugitan Law Office. Thank you very much for being here and allowing me to be your host. Alam mo, I've done this for many of the shows here in GNN, on prime time only, of course, but I like to introduce a lot of the shows as they come on. I'm particularly excited about your platform, simply because when I see legal shows on TV sa mga ibang channels, mas lalo na mga malalaking network, pag sinabi mo, doktor, naka-gown ng puti, hindi ba maniniwala, doktor yan? Kailangan ba mag-lab gown? Ako natatawa ako eh. Tsaka ba't pinag-uusapan issues na hindi naman maintindihan ng layman? Pinag-uusapan mga pharmaceutical issues, yung mga chemistry na hindi naman naiintindihan ng taong bayan eh. Yung show nyo po, ano ang ibig nyo sabihin pag sinabi mo, medical dilemma? Yan.
When you say dilemma, that means meron kang
Conflict.
problema. There's
Problem.
conflict. Yeah, there's a problem. You can decide either way, left, right. You know, or sometimes you don't know what to do, no, with a certain issue.
Marami bang issues ang medical? You're talking, pag sinabi mo
yeah.
medical dilemma, so
Medicine.
medical issues, medical na may dilemma, parang ganon.
Yes. So it will concern about your disease, yung illness ng isang tao, yung treatment niya, yung management sa kanya. Yan.
Paano po nagiging dilemma yan? Ayan, Father, ikaw.
Well, in medicine alone, there are dilemmas because you cannot have just single treatment in one single diagnosis or disease.
Hindi
So,
klinical.
professionally or technically, there are already dilemmas.
So in the medical profession, there is a dilemma, meaning a conflict to diagnosis and treatments.
Right, right.
Yeah.
There are.
And there are lots
But
of
I thought the
choices.
hospital and the specialist will tell you, no, this is what's wrong with you. You have a foot problem, you need a foot doctor. Di ba parang ganon?
Right, but even among foot doctors, there are so many experts.
Yan ang naging
so
problema.
different
Kaya
views.
medical expertise is first and foremost.
I suppose, yes. Alternatives also.
How can there be conflict if there's expertise that says medical, pag sinabi sa'yo, ito ang problema mo, dapat pakinggan mo yun.
All right, but you see, in medical dilemma, it's not only the procedure, but also the consequences that might happen, and also the viewpoints of the families, of the chaplain of the hospital.
Nako, so
of
ano na yan?
everything. So comes now the
Moral.
ethical and moral dilemma.
Ethics, ethical.
Right.
Nako, problema nga
And
pala
then
yan. Ano?
afterwards, hindi lang yan. Si
Attorney. How do you come into the picture, attorney?
Well, as the viewers will see in our first show, no, when you come across a medical dilemma, aside from the diagnosis, ways of treatment, the ethical concerns, there's also what can you and cannot do legally. Kasi iba, gusto nila extra legal measure in order to, of course, to go back to the prime of their lives. So, may mga legal aspects we really cannot get away with it. As whoever said, no, the maxim is the only things that are sure in life is death and taxes. And both are governed by law.
Sino pa-prioritize natin kung tatlo kayo? Okay, let's suppose Dr. Tess here will represent the medical part.
Right.
Okay, assuming between the three of you.
Yeah.
Okay, she will say, no, the treatment is we have to cut your foot. Now, father will come in and say, if you cut his foot, he can no longer work
Wow.
because
Right.
he's a runner. That's how he provides
Right.
sustenance to his family. You cannot cut his foot. Tapos sabihin naman ng legal. Hindi pwede. You can, if the doctor says to leave, you have to cut it. Legally, you may cut it or you may not cut it. Basta may legal position. Ano mangyayari kung nagkakarambola po kayong tatlo? Between ethics, moral, spiritual, medical, and legal. 5 na yan.
Right.
Paano po,
Right.
sino po mananalo sa ganyan?
That is why in the hospital, there is what we call the ethics committee. in
Meron
which
pala ang hospital?
There are. Which
It's
is
a requirement
composed
by
of,
DOH also.
well, the administrator, the legal experts, the bioethicists, and the medical expert.
Sometimes
have
we
to
need a lawyer also there.
Right.
You mean in hospitals, every time you make recommendations or a diagnosis for correction procedures,
Right.
you need to go through a board to decide all of. They didn't show us that in Grey's Anatomy.
You know, if
No.
it is controversial, if
No.
it is controversial,
It's controversial.
yeah, and we're in your many choices, and the patient is now
But
disturbed.
who precedes? Who becomes the winner in the end? Or who holds the most weight among the different
Right.
sensitivities?
Actually, it's the patient.
But
It's
if the patient does not know better, I mean, the Filipino today don't know any better, and they agreed to the RH bill, and we're Catholics.
Right. Right.
But when there's ignorance,
Yeah. If there is ignorance, the family will come. And if there is also ignorance in the family, and that's the time that a meeting or coordination will have to be held so that the families will also be able to understand how things should go.
I
The
didn't realize
consequences.
it's
Yeah.
ano pala, makulit.
Ah, yes, yes. There are. Because in every particular procedure in medicine or surgery, there are different kinds of implications, the legal, the moral, and even the spiritual sometimes, and even the cultural sometimes.
Oo,
Right.
yeah, may culture
Oo,
din yan.
may
ano?
culture, oo.
Oo, kasi alam ko sa Amerika, may religion na bawal
Right.
maoperahan, Amish or something, di ba? Parang ganon?
Right.
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's
Blood.
Witness, oo,
That's
yun.
from blood.
How do you deal with something like You know, we as humans, some are stronger, some are louder, some are quicker. You can't say some are better. But depending on the personality of people and their professions, they tend to lead. Who takes the lead, who takes the sensitivity in your direction of a board? Let's suppose one of you own the hospital and you're inside that board. So you carry more weight than the other person.
Right.
And yet, the other person is far better expertise or once a legal luminary. You can't have 5 presidents and everyone dictating what is correct. And then here comes the poor citizen, Juan de la Cruz, who's ignorant of the issues, and you're all talking in English. Ano kaya gusto nila gawin sa akin? Parang ganun po mangyayari. Who will prevail?
That is why that committee has to be held so that everyone who is a stakeholder in that particular event or particular procedure will be able to understand in a language they understand. In a language they understand. That is why all the experts will have to come in. If the patient, for example, or the families can only understand Tagalog, they have to speak in Tagalog. In a language, in that level, they understand.
Now we know why St. Clair's is the right hospital to go to. Can you imagine pag ganun nangyayari? Do all the big hospitals, are they forced? Do they have, is it required to have a team like yours, for example, that has been in existence for some time?
Yes, there is a directive from the DOH that there should be one.
Ah, meron na talaga.
Yes, ethics committee, hospital ethics.
Why can't we have that in government? You smile, but somehow I'm not finding that very funny.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take a short break. Alam niyo po, ang medical dilemma po sa mga hospital ay isang, ako hindi ko pa, ngayon ko lang po narinig. I'm sure for those of you who are listening, you may not be very familiar of this extra service. Maybe this is the reason why hospitals cost a lot. But if I'm not mistaken, there's no billing that says medical dilemma, directorship board getting together to make you feel better to understand. No. It is an advocacy. It is a service, a human service to make you understand the issues that you, the patient, and the family have to confront. Now, let's look at the other side of the pendulum. Now, sana kung may ganito sa gobyerno, no? We have all these checks and balances, and yet it seems we're always missing out on what is truly correct. Ang nangyayari po sa atin, it's called media, PR. That makes it the truth. After all, in media, perception is all about the truth. But can media be incorrect? Can the president be telling the truth, giving you 4 different facts at the very same time, with his very same voice, with the very same tape, with different words, and saying they're all fact and all the same? How can it be if it's all said at the same time, same issue? So I can go in front of you and tell you, the color of my face is yellow. It's color black. It's color purple. It's color blue. And then I come back and say, what is the color of my face? You only have one answer. And whatever your answer, I'm going to say that is correct. Either you're a fool or I'm a fool. I would rather be that fool, because I'd rather you stay on, keep watching. Now, stay tuned. We'll be right back. That's Dilemma.